In this podcast, Balaji, Breedlove, and Gladstein discuss how the Bitcoin price is the only unfakeable signal in global markets. The price appreciation of Bitcoin signals the birth of a new reserve currency that could become the global reserve currency of the world, albeit in a messier way than expected. Bitcoin is eating all the money, and this could cause social unrest or a relatively peaceful transition in financial markets. The Fed surprised commercial banks and sold them a huge amount of bonds, only to devalue them after Powell's renomination. This resulted in the banks having surprise massive devaluations of all the assets they just bought. To hide their huge losses, banks used accounting tricks, such as the held-to-maturity classification. However, when Bern Hobart discovered a negative $80 billion classification buried in a footnote, it led to the Silicon Valley Bank run. This caused chaos for the banks, and many other banks are in similar situations. This led to a stealth nationalization where the big banks snapped up the small ones, which could pave the way for the nationalization of bank deposits. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are also discussed, with the possibility of the government replacing cash and having complete control over bank deposits. Bitcoin is the exit strategy from these financial problems, as it is the only digital asset with no counterparty risk and is not easily seized. Hyperinflation and CBDC could happen at the same time, potentially wiping out all small banks and leading to a China-like state. In times of risk and danger, everyone will withdraw their funds from commercial bank assets over to CBDCs, as they will have the full protection of the government, leading to loss of trust. Economies in emerging markets face crises like this, where interest rates and inflation are very high, and economies shrink and get destroyed, while at the same time, the local currency gets massively devalued. With the current situation, things could be different this time around, potentially resulting in structural adjustment policies to prevent societies from falling apart. Many countries have huge reserves of U.S. treasuries that they can draw down in times of crisis. However, the quality of these treasuries may eventually be called into question, leading to a collapse. Social media and Bitcoin now exist as an exit strategy from the dollar. The U.S. government is seen as being criminal and corrupt, but the U.S. as a nation is still strong in terms of American values. There is a shortfall of insolvent banks across the country, and the system is set up for opacity. The total of some unrealized losses, including securities that are available for sale or held to maturity, was about $620 billion at year-end 2022. Every institution, family unit, or nation-state should have a percentage of Bitcoin to avoid the possibility of the confiscation of assets. Put money in multi-key custody models like Bitcoin and Wasabi Wallet as a hedge against potential losses. The centralized state has historically been able to seize assets from people, such as with Executive Order 6102, which led to the seizure of gold by the government in the early 20th century. However, the digital aspect of Bitcoin makes it potentially more resistant to seizure than physical assets such as gold. Buy Bitcoin as a means of protecting one's wealth, and move to one of many crypto-friendly jurisdictions around the world where property rights are protected. Don't rely on official statements from central banks and governments. Actions speak louder than words. Look at how much USD is being printed and consider hedging with Bitcoin.